Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Navis Kitchen. Your sister Madame is back in the kitchen. I have been up to quite a few things. One of them was cooking a bunch of delicious Ghanaian dishes for family friends. They requested that I make peanut butter soup with rice balls. You know how it is when you crave one Ghanaian dish. Another one follows, then another and another. So let me tell you, I've been cooking like crazy, all right? Because they also requested a wache feast. So I had to make the wache stew, the wache itself, added the shito and all the other accompaniments that go with wache. Mwah. It was absolutely delicious. They requested a egusi stew as well, Ghanaian style, which they will be pairing with boiled yams or boiled plantains. Another dish they requested was the Toza feast. The red sauce, that sauce is incredibly delicious, which accompanies the green leafy sauce. Ooh, so good. It's actually a soup. On top of that, they were like, Sister Madame, please don't forget to add your smoky jollof rice with fried turkey wings. So I made that for them. Also, my daughter, who's in high school, had an event where she needed to present a dish that represents her heritage. And I thought, what better dish than to make jollof rice? So try to kill two birds with one stone. I made a lot of jollof rice so I could split it up. Then I combined her jollof rice dish with jerk chicken, grilled outside to get that grilled smoky kiss. Ooh, yes, it was a lot of work, but there is a method to all the madness, which I want to share with you because I think you'll find it useful. So let's get into it. So the prepping of especially my meats began yesterday on returning from work. So I marinated all my meats with some onion, garlic, ginger mix, which really is essentially the fundamentals of cooking in a Ghanaian household. So when you learn how to cook in a Ghanaian household in Ghana, you're taught to put this combination together. So it becomes sort of the equivalent to sofrito in Spanish cooking or mirepoix in French cooking. So put this on our meats to develop the flavors in making our soups, our sauces, and our stews. So you'll see throughout the video and appreciate how we use this blend. Our first meat of choice is skin on bone in goat. Seasoning with salt, crushed black pepper, followed by my blend, which I make ahead of time when I prep in the beginning of the year. It's a combination of beautiful aromatics, and I've also added some of the blend of the ginger, garlic, and onion. Now cover and off to the fridge to marinate overnight. Next protein I'm cooking with is the turkey wings, and we'll be marinating with some chili flakes, the green seasoning blend, some salt, crushed black pepper, and also the blend of ginger, garlic, and onion. Mix it up to coat all of the meat and cover and set in the fridge to marinate overnight as well. Next protein is our hen. So this is hard chicken. Most people call it hard chicken. Again, I am repeating my salt, my crushed black pepper, and I'm seasoning it heavily because I will probably not season the soup at all. So I've added my blend and also some paprika, regular paprika, and I'm going to throw this into the oven right now. What I intend to do with this is force all of the marinade I have put onto it into the meat and also dry it up, almost dehydrate it, and also get that smokiness going. I'll be using this to make my peanut butter soup. Next, we have our chicken drums all cleaned, and we're seasoning it to make the jerk chicken. So I've added some garlic, onion powder, some paprika, salt, bouillon onto it, and then I'm going to add my homemade jerk seasoning. Now this, including the green seasoning I have been using, have already been shared in videos on the Navis Kitchen. And it's so nice to do these ahead of time, prep all your blends, even beginning of the year, which is mostly what I like to do. Portion them and wrap them with plastic wraps and throw them in the freezer. They're ready to be used whenever you need them. Very handy, makes cooking easy and more fun. That is the method, part of the method to the madness I referenced in the beginning. Next meat is our beef, bone-in and boneless, as well as beef tripe. We're going to season that also with our salt, our crushed black pepper, our blend of ginger, garlic, and onion, our green seasoning blend. It's so nice to have a bunch of these in the freezer, ready to be used whenever desired. Yes, our green seasoning blend, and very soon you'll be seeing our tomato-based stew being used in several ways in this video, which you'll really appreciate, have been lifesavers. And so because of that, I've been able to reclaim a ton of time to do other things like spending time with the family. So let's begin. Here I have some goat meat, which was cleaned thoroughly, marinated with all of these aromatics, beautiful smell here, as well as some seasonings. It marinated in the fridge, is ready to go onto the stovetop to cook and become tenderized. Our next meat that has been marinating is the beef and the beef tripe, ready to go onto the stove to get cooking. Next protein on the menu is the turkey wings. They've also been marinating and ready to get cooked. And we're taking this one outside. Last protein on the menu is jerk chicken drums. Those also have marinated so beautifully. Oh, wish you were here to smell it. We're taking this also outside. Our meats are now tender because they were marinated overnight. They are very, very tasty to the bone. What I'm doing is splitting up the goat meat, including its broth, because I'll be using the goat meat two ways, all right? The first one is going to be cooked in our peanut butter soup in combination with the chicken. Most of the cooking in this video was requested by an expectant woman in her family, okay? When you're expecting, you crave a lot of interesting combinations. So yes, chicken and goat in soup is an unusual combination, but it actually did work. So it was tasty in the end, and that really is all that matters. I was worried that the gaminess of the goat was going to overpower the clean, inviting aroma of the chicken. But it was surprisingly very, very tasty, very good. All right, so I have one whole onion split into two. I'm adding chilies right now, a Fresno and a habanero. I have one carrot in there, 2 Roma tomatoes. I've also added the blend of ginger, garlic, and onion, and 2 heaping tablespoons of tomato paste. Now just adding a little water to it, just to create the broth or get that part going. And then onto the stove it goes to start cooking our peanut butter soup base. 20 minutes later, our onion, tomato, carrots, all of those are now tenderized. Remove them, blend them with some water and the peanut butter. The peanut butter was made in Ghana when I was there. We roasted the peanuts at home, peeled them, and then took the roasted peanuts to Nika Nika and had them blend it into this paste. So it is quite tasty. It doesn't get more authentic than this. We're going to blend until very, very smooth. It is perfectly silky smooth, has joined the soup. We are going to thin up the soup and get more broth by adding some water to the blender and then rinse it out into the soup. And now we'll leave the soup to cook on medium-low heat until oil resurfaces, and that should take close to an hour. It takes a while to cook peanut butter soup through, and it must be cooked thoroughly, all right, before it is edible. And this consistency is perfect to start cooking the soup. It will reduce over time. All right, checking on our turkey. That didn't take long to cook at all, about 25 minutes. We're going to remove or separate the turkey wings from the broth. And if you place the wings on a rack or in a colander, then it will drain more of the moisture and get ready for the fry. So their splatter is reduced during frying. In the meantime, we're going to check on our jerk chicken. We're coating it with some oil and some more of the jerk seasoning, and we're just letting it cook all the way through. Time to cook the jollof rice. So I start with some butter, which I melt and let it get all nice and toasty. Wash my rice thoroughly and toast the washed rice in the toasty butter. I am trying to say that I'm going to make this jollof rice taste so good it will blow your mind. Yes, so now the rice goes in. So I'm taking a slightly different approach, and you'll see why shortly. Yes, the jollof stew is already cooked. That's really the reason. The jollof stew is already cooked, prepped beginning of the year. And I stored them in the freezer, portioned into little containers. And they come in so handy in such times. I've added some curry powder and some bouillon to the rice I'm toasting, and I'm going to toast all of this together to bloom the curry spices to make the spices more impactful. That's what blooming is. And then I'll add the tomato base stew or the jollof stew. You see how handy that is? Yes. I've already shared the video to this as well. And keep watching. You'll see how I repeatedly use this tomato base stew in the rest of the dishes I'll be cooking. Yes, true lifesaver hacks you could use to reclaim some of the time in the kitchen and spend with your family. This is the broth from cooking the turkey wings, and now we're adding that broth to the jollof. Now the beef is also cooked. The beef and the tripe are cooked. I'm going to separate the meat from the broth and then store some of the broth in the fridge, which I'll be using to cook other dishes in this video, so keep watching. And then the rest of the broth will also join the jollof rice for more flavor. Beef flavor in jollof. Oh, match made in heaven. Very good. Perfect, right? So we're going to stir this together, turn the heat down to medium-low, place the lid on the pot and let the rice absorb all this flavor. We'll come back and stir it eventually and then use steam to cook it the rest of the way. Perfection. So our jollof is done cooking. Our jerk chicken is also ready. I'm going to put together a quick onion and herb stir fry. This is to just keep the jerk chicken fragrant and moist before it is served. My daughter will be taking some of that and the jollof rice to the events she's been invited to at school. Next, we're going to fry our turkey wings. They have had some time to sit and drain all of that excess moisture, so there will be no splattering during frying. And then after that, we're also going to fry our boneless beef for making our wache stew. We want to fry these until they are perfect, beautiful, and golden brown. Time to make our wache stew. So I have a bunch of onions I have chopped in a food processor. Wache stew is nothing without onions, okay? The base of wache stew is the 70% onions. And then I also add my tomato paste to see how handy it came in again. Yes. So these were taken out of the freezer and placed in the fridge to thaw overnight. And yeah, here we are. We're making wache stew with it. We've already made jollof with it. Now wache stew. Keep watching to see how else we use it. You will be just amazed how handy and how useful, how versatile this tomato-based stew is. Now we're adding our wele. Yes, these have already been parboiled and seasoned ahead of time, so they are perfect and tender. They have the perfect texture. Okay, so that goes into to cook with the stew to exchange flavors. I decided to add some spices and dry herbs to fortify the flavor. So I added some dry rosemary, which I processed, with a little bit of calabash nutmeg and crushed black pepper. And that's what I added recently. I stirred it in, cover, and let it cook on low heat for about 20 minutes. Now, it will usually take a little longer than 20 minutes to cook wache stew, if you know what I mean. So I did add a little bit of water, and that helps to cook and develop the flavors in the wache stew more, okay? And then you allow it to reduce or cook the water out. Now I'm adding the meat, all right? Wache stew can take a minute to cook, okay? But preparing your stew ahead of time, your tomato-based stew ahead of time really helps to save you a ton of that time. So the meat have gone in, we will let it cook and become part of the stew flavor while the stew itself takes on the meat's flavor. I did add some of the broth, the beef broth, not captured here, but that also did go in at some point. And the wacha stew is pretty much done. We're going to skim off all of that oil we used to fry the stew, and it is ready. How simple is that? Isn't this even more fun? Yes, indeed it is. Now, we're going to dish the jollof because it is time for my daughter's event at school. So we're dishing some of the jollof for her, and we're going to place on top of that the jerk chicken and the grilled onions, and off she goes. Time to make the Tuozafi red sauce. We start with some palm oil. You just want to melt it, and then we're going in with some dawa or locust bean. I am going to pour just a bit of that in there. You only need a little bit of dawa to make an impact. So don't be heavy-handed here. I've added chili. I've opened it up. And yes, we're going to fry this until it is fragrant in the oil. Then we'll add our dry smoked herrings, followed by, again, the blend of onion, ginger, and garlic from the beginning of this video. About a ladle full. Fry that also till fragrant. And then we'll add our crushed black pepper, salt, and our tomato-based stew again. Now, when I made this stew beginning of this year and I shared the video, somebody actually did ask me in the comments in that video if this stew can be used to make Tuozafi sauce. Well, there you have it. I hope you're watching this person who asked that question. Indeed, you can. And there it is. Simple. This stew is packed loaded with flavor because the base has sun-dried tomatoes, onions, ginger, garlic, full of aromatics and herbs. I've just added the beef broth, and this right here is fish broth. All right, I will make that ahead of time as well and store them in the freezer. All right. So that's all going to help thin this sauce up. This sauce is supposed to be more on the soupy side of things in terms of consistency, okay? So once you've thinned up your sauce with the broths, you want to go in immediately with your meat, which we cooked ahead of time as well in the beginning of this video. So this is the goat meat and some of the beef as well. And we've also added our wele, which we parboiled also. So it's tender enough, but they need to exchange flavors. So it's perfect time to go in and let it cook on low heat until all the flavors are developed. In the meantime, our peanut butter soup is still cooking. It's been about 40 minutes. We're not quite there yet because the oil isn't resurfaced. We're waiting for that to happen to know the soup is cooked through, okay? And see how quick and how easy it was to make this Tuozafi red sauce. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's full of flavor. So full of flavor. No skimping here. No, 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 no. We're making the egusi stew next. We're melting some palm oil. We're going to add our momone. Again, this egusi stew is actually Ghanaian style. So our momone is fermented fish, salted fermented fish or cured. And then we've added some onion. Our chili is going in. I've opened one up to release the heat and the fragrance much swiftly. And we're just going to cook this on about medium-high heat until fragrance. And yes, our green aromatic blend also, just about a tablespoon and a half of that joins the pot. We're going to cook all of this for about 2 to 3 minutes. And the momone should melt right into the oil, all right, to where it is not even detectable. But its flavor will be definitely detectable. Trust me, it is in the air. All right, so now we're going to add our tomato-based stew. We have about 1/3 of a cup of tomato paste too, because its flavor is already developed. We don't need to cook much further. So immediately we're going to go in with herrings powder or dry smoked herrings that have been milled into powder form. We're also adding some of our blend of onion, garlic, and ginger. We'll just cook that down for about a minute or 1.5 to 2 minutes. And that is it. The stew base is pretty much done. We season with some salt to taste. Our egusi stew is almost done cooking, friends. Yes. Now we're going to add our meats. We're using some of the bone-in beef and also some of the fried boneless beef. I used beef shank and I fried those. So those are going in right now. They requested that I use beef for the egusi stew. All right. So that goes in. And yes, the egusi stew, like I said, is almost done cooking. Now we're going to add some dawa dawa or locust bean. It is fermented, it's full of umami flavor, and it's actually very, very healthy for you. It's medicinal. So yes, that goes in as well. More flavor. We say yes to that. Absolutely. Stir that in and let it just cook for a further maybe 3 minutes. Now, the egusi itself, I picked up from the African market. We're going to wash that before we blend it with some water and some ginger garlic paste, which we prepared also in the beginning of the year. I've added some water just to thin up the sauce, okay? It helps to develop the flavors because it will reduce. We're cooking on medium heat. Let's go and take care of the egusi itself. We're going to wash it. It's packaged, but we want to wash it before we blend it. So that's next. Now here is our garlic and ginger blend. Yes, I do those also and prep them ahead of time and portion them and wrap them and keep them in the freezer, and they're ready for use whenever desired. Yes, so I blend that with the egusi and then into the pot they go. Now I made sure that this is more like a paste because this egusi stew is supposed to be very thick. I don't really want it to be on the soup side of things, okay, in terms of consistency. So I'm going to rinse the blender also with just a little bit of water and add it so there isn't any waste. And there that goes. Now we're going to incorporate it ever so gently. We don't want to stir it into the soup or the stew rather. All right, just sort of cover it or submerge it and then place the lid on and cook on low heat for 40 minutes to cook the egusi through. And there it is. We're going to stir it now. It is perfect. We're going to add some spinach, frozen spinach, and our egusi stew will be done cooking in no time. Time to make our awache. So I have soaked 2 cups of black-eyed beans for about 3 hours. I'm going to rinse it now, and then we'll be cooking it with sorghum leaves, our natural dye, to get that nice and burgundy color in our awache. So we add some water to the rinsed beans, and here are our sorghum or awache leaves, which I'll tie into a bouquet and then place on the stove and cook it until al dente. It is almost time for them to come and pick up the food. So I'm going to make my rice balls right now. I'm going to be cooking this in a rice cooker. I wash my rice thoroughly first, and then I cook it in the rice cooker with a lot of water. So about triple the amount of water you will normally use to cook rice into a fluffy texture. Add some salt to it and cook it until it is very, very tender. Now to the beans, I am adding, it is already al dente. So I've just now added a pinch of baking soda to give it that meaty flavor. It also helps to extract the dye more swiftly from the sorghum leaves. I will also, alongside that, be cooking the green soup for the Tuozafi feast. All right, now today I'm using some fresh okra just to get more slime. All right, now okra is also very healthy, so why not incorporate it if you can. All right, so I'm going to blend that till pretty much very smooth, and then we're going to start cooking the green soup base with the okra. To develop more slime in the okra, I start with that, and then I add baking soda to it. That helps it to be even more slimy and also brightens the green color in it. In the meantime, I have some Chinese spinach. That has a little bit of slime in it, I discovered, and is packed full with nutrients. All right, so I remove the leaves and give them a thorough wash. Rinse them, and then I blend them up. Now, this green soup for our Tuozafi feast has quite a variety of green leafy vegetables you'll find. Keep watching. Our rice is also cooking for our rice balls here. It's almost done cooking, so we'll be mashing that very soon into the balls. So yeah, into the blender they go. And we'll be blending it up with some water. Now, to this blend, I also added kale. I don't know why we lost that footage, but there is kale in here as well. Yes, kale is also full of nutrients. Now, this is going to be a blend of frozen spinach. Yes, again, I'm cooking for an expectant mom, so I want this to be as nutritious as possible. And you know, pregnant women really need a lot of iron in their diet. So I was thinking of all that while I was cooking. All right, so our draw we have developed, I'm adding the blend of ginger, garlic, and onion, our green blend, some herring powder, dawa dawa, which I left whole, but I'm also going to blend some with some salt in this asanka. I left some of the dawa dawa whole because it is nice to see the bean floating around in the soup while you're eating. And then I'm also blending some just because I want the dawa dawa flavor to be more forward, to be more impactful, and to be in the forefront, okay? This soup is nothing without the dawa dawa flavor. All right, so that goes in, and I've added a little bit of salt just to make it more crushable, more swiftly. So yes, you see, this thing is so full of flavor. Now I'm adding some beef broth to it as well, because this, you want your green soup to be flavorful too. Momoni even just went in. Bonde. Bonde Aromatics. They are representing over here. Now, in here, in these packages, are the actual ayoyo leaves, which have already been beaten or blended. See how slimy they are as well. I picked those up from the African market. Yes. So yeah, our green part of this soup is ready, packed full of nutrients, lots of iron. So into the pot they go, and I don't want to overcook this part of the soup. All right, and that's why I cooked the blend of the okra itself a little longer to develop the flavors. So once this goes in, I stir it and bring it to a quick boil, and then I turn the stove off and it's ready. So we are retaining the nutrients here. Perfect. So it's going to come to a quick boil. I'm also going to, I've tasted and I realized it needs some salt. So I've added it. It's a lot. It's a lot of soup. So I've added some salt to it. Stir that in, bring it to a boil, and it's done. Simple. And let me tell you, it doesn't get more flavorful than this, okay? This is not bland at all. It's full of flavor. Our rice is also ready. It's nice and mushy, and we're going to mash it up and form balls out of it to go with our peanut butter soup. We're washing our jasmine rice to cook the wache. The beans are ready. You notice we haven't seasoned the beans at all just yet. Once the rice joins the pot, we will add some salt to season, followed by some cold pressed coconut oil for flavor, some water because we've lost almost all the water and we need water to cook the wache until it's really nice and soft. Stir that in, cover, cook on medium-low, and then we'll be stirring it pretty soon here, and it's done. It took about 20 minutes for that to happen. Stir it, and then we're going to trap the steam with a parchment paper and cook a further 30 minutes, and it will be ready to serve and package. Perfect. "30 minutes later, our wache is cooked. It is soft, just how bodo wache should be. Wache needs to be tender, okay, almost mushy. That is perfect wache, and the color is also perfect. We're packaging now because they are almost here to pick up their food. So I cook a lot like this all the time because I get orders for events. I cook for my own family. I prep a lot. And I normally don't share it on my YouTube channel, but I thought I better do that because I have a process that I have found over time has worked for me. I have improved on the process as well. Developed a lot of hacks that work for me and make cooking like this fun, not intimidating, which I know can be intimidating for a lot of people. It has been for me. So I hope that's the whole lesson of sharing this video. I really hope that you have picked a few pointers here and there to help cooking for you more fun, more enjoyable, and take the intimidation out, friends. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you're inspired and have learned a thing or two in terms of the hacks, the process that has worked for me over time. This video can be impactful in terms of helping you learn how to cook in big batches for not only your household, but even if you're thinking of starting a business where you'll be cooking or meal prepping for by taking orders for other families or friends, or even starting a restaurant. This is how to do it. Prep ahead of time. Take care of the base of your soups and your stews, your aromatics. Yeah, prep all of those ahead of time. Get a freezer and store them in there. And you will find that they will be super useful for you. So yes, I hope that you are inspired, truly. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as I cook all of this food. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. This is the wache stew. They'll be picking up pretty soon. So I'm just packaging and letting them come to room temperature. And then I will be throwing their lids on and keeping them in an ice chest or cooler. And we'll be placing some ice on top of the food because they'll be traveling with it. The hacks and the process I have developed over time really saved me a ton of time, made it more enjoyable. So hope you've learned a thing or two. Thanks so much for watching. Make it a great day and have fun. Thank you, beautiful person, for watching the video all the way to the end. Kindly leave me a comment and subscribe down below, and don't forget to share the video as well. Also, watch more videos. It is chop time, and here in Anaba's Kitchen, chop time is always yes, friends. So pull up a chair. We are all friends and family here.